I'm going to introduce our speaker, who we've had before, but for some of you, David is new. And so I want to introduce him. He's the charter president of the Rotary E-Club of Raleigh International. He was born in Scotland, yay, Scotland, and immigrated to the US 50 years ago in 1974. He retired in 2014 from a career in pharmaceutical research and development, and he joined Rotary in 1981. He served as club president 3 times, because you can never get out of it when you move around to different clubs. He's been secretary, treasurer, foundation chair, public relations chair, webmaster, assistant governor, and all the roles that go in between. And he served on the District 7710 membership committee. He's facilitated at the Mid-Atlantic Division of Rotary Leadership Institute and served as trainer for new facilitators and a part of a small team that rewrote the curriculum for the program. And I'll tell you, David, I presented and facilitated for the first time at an RLI on Saturday in Bluffton. And it went pretty well. They asked me for sure to return again, so I couldn't have done that badly. He's married to a past district governor, Marie Howard, and they have 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren. And they enjoy off the beaten path traveling, learning about indigenous cultures, and most of their travels have been done in small groups or just as a couple. And he's been all over the world, from China and Shanghai to Beijing, Australian outback, the African bush, the Arctic tundra, and he gave us a presentation on the Galapagos. He's been on a National Polio Immunization Day, and now he's working on projects in Jamaica. So, David, welcome to our club, and we're happy to hear about what you have to tell us about your newest Rotary Club adventure and a little bit about the Jamaica school that you're working with.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you all for inviting me to make this presentation. I'm going to talk about something which is really quite dear to my heart. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. If I'm lucky here. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. What I want to spend most of the time today talking about is our adoption, if you will, of a high school for the deaf in Jamaica. And it's become the cause around which our new Rotary Club was formed. We're a cause-based Rotary Club with a goal of supporting the Listermere Gilby High School for the Deaf in Jamaica. But before I move on to the school, I want to talk a little bit about the club, since we're very new. We only chartered in, there we go. Okay, that worked. So when we started this club, 3 of us got together last May. Oops, excuse me, I just dropped my microphone. 3 of us got together last May, and we gave a lot of thought to how we wanted to form this club. One of the first things we did was to define a demographic for the types of Rotarians that we would want to attract to the club. And we chose mid-career to retired professionals. And the reason for that is that these would be individuals whose career was more established, and hopefully they would have more free time to dedicate to the club. It also meant that hopefully they had higher disposable income that would allow them to better support our projects in Jamaica. We have high quarterly dues compared to most e-clubs, and we're in the range of the quarterly dues that you would see with a club where they have a set meal price included in their dues. I'll come back to that in a moment. The other thing we wanted was an ability and a willingness to travel to the Caribbean each year. I'm going to call it a requirement of membership. We don't absolutely insist. If you can't make it, you can't make it. We all understand that. But everyone is strongly encouraged to go on our annual trip to Jamaica. And then, the old Rotary phrase, a heart for service. We want people who want to make a difference, who want to become involved. And one of the ways we approach that is by only recruiting people that someone in the club knows very well. So we're not a catch-all club. We're pretty selective. And obviously, as an e-club, people can live anywhere, and that's important. I'll come back to that in a second too. So we received our charter in April of this year, but we chose March the 25th, and RI agreed as our charter date, because that is the United Nations International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. Since slavery played such an important part in the history of Jamaica, we chose that day to honor modern day Jamaica and the troubles it has gone through to become the vibrant culture it is today. We're online. We meet on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock Eastern time. We have 23 members currently, and 2/3 are foreign born in 8 countries. Our members live in 4 countries: the US, Jamaica, France, Cameroon, and they live in 6 states in the United States. So we're pretty spread around. We did not set out to become, to focus on gender or any other aspect of equality, but it turns out that we're 60% female and 60% people of color. And as I said, people in mid-career to retired, and our cause is service to the Listomere Gilby High School for the deaf. We're also, I think, going to be a little bit unusual. Although we're focused on a cause, we are also introducing all these new Rotarians to Rotary International. And we have 3 goals by June 30th of this year. We want the club to become a 100% My Rotary club. That is, everyone has a My Rotary account. We want everyone to be signed up for Rotary Direct for recurring giving to the foundation. And we want to be a 100% Paul Harris Fellow Club. And so as of this morning, 21 of 22 members have signed up for a My Rotary account. Number 23 was only inducted last Saturday, was that 3 days ago? So she doesn't count yet. 19 of 22 have signed up for Rotary Direct. And we think we'll hit 23 of 23 by the end of the month. And 20 of 22 are already Paul Harris Fellows. In fact, we have a PHF +1 already. So people are learning about Rotary, and they are giving to Rotary as well as giving to the high school. We point out to people that at least half of the money we spend in Jamaica comes from the Rotary Foundation through a district grant, and that we want to be seen to be giving back to the foundation. Membership growth, 3 of us met last May. We had our first meeting at the end of August with, I think, 11 members that we had recruited. And so first meeting last weekend in August. We had a membership drive in February of this year, and we called it Try Before You Buy. We basically waived membership dues through June 30th of this year for anyone to join the club in February or after. And we understood that we could well lose some of those members when it came time to pay the money. But the purpose of the drive was to get us to at least 20 members so that we could charter as an independent Rotary club. We started as a satellite Rotary club, and we're now independent. So we hit 26, and sure enough, we lost 4, but we've gained 2 of those back again, I think. So we're maintaining at the 23 range. We're unapologetically expensive. I mentioned that earlier. Our active members pay $150 a quarter, and 100 of that goes towards our service projects in Jamaica. So if you do the math with 25 members, that means we've got about $10,000 a year coming from membership dues that we can spend in Jamaica. We have an active service member. They pay $100 a quarter, with $50 going to the service. We have a family membership. We have a $45 one-time new member fee. And interestingly, we asked members if they would be willing to donate $10 a month to buy hygiene products for the school. And you know, whenever I say hygiene products, I think most minds go to female hygiene. But in fact, we're talking about very basic things like underwear for both boys and girls, you know, toothbrushes, toothpaste, hair combs, perfumes, deodorants. And we send at least $150 a month to the school. They buy the products locally, so we're helping the local economy. And the children every month get supplied with whatever hygiene supplies they need. And we estimate it costs about, $3,000 inclusive for the trip to Jamaica. And I can say that everyone who traveled this year is planning to return in 2025. So we think it's a hit. So in terms of our service projects, Jamaica is the second poorest country in the Caribbean behind Haiti. You can see the numbers I pulled off the web. You know, the per capita GDP for the US is around $63,000, but in Jamaica, it's just a little over $5,000, and Haiti's just a little over $1,200. That has implications for education in Jamaica. Many families can't afford uniforms, transportation, school lunch, etc. And students need to work to support their families. Few deaf students complete secondary school. I think the graduation rate in the deaf community is 50% or less, which then translates into more than half of the deaf community in Jamaica lives in poverty. They're either unemployed or they have extremely low non-skilled type employment and income. So the school, this is a picture of the school in the top right. It sits nestled in the hills, a beautiful little campus. It was built in 1966, and all the teachers and staff are bilingual. Meaning that their first language is Jamaican Sign Language. That wasn't a half of me I never thought about, but you know, it's if you're deaf, your first language is sign language. But all the teachers, they either know sign language when they're hired, or the school has a program to teach them. So they're all bilingual. It's the only certified high school for the deaf in Jamaica. There are elementary schools also, but this is the only certified high school. It has 3 campuses with approximately 120 students and about 60 staff. So our projects will start with what we did this year. We went to Jamaica in late January, early February this year. And our main project was to provide modern computers and digital projectors for the school. We take our lead from the school. We're not the ugly Americans coming in and telling you what we think you need. Our approach is very clearly to ask the school what they need, and then we try to meet those needs. So their number one request was for modern computers. They have an internet connection, which have actually just upgraded to fiber optic. So they've got a very good internet connection. And they want to be able to use the computers to not only teach the children computer-based skills like programming and website design, but they also want to be able to use online educational sites to broaden the kind of education they can provide to the kids. And then we had a bunch of smaller hands-on projects we performed while we were there in Jamaica. Our goals on these trips is not just to go to the school and work on a service project. I mean, obviously our main goal is to meet the plant and infrastructure needs for the school. They have lots of them, ranging from relatively minor to a $250,000 guidance center they would love to have, and everything in between. So it's a very underserved organization. Because of the economic situation in Jamaica, the government knows what needs to be done in the education arena, but they often just flat out can't afford to do it. And the deaf community, I guess, comes at the bottom of the list for educational needs. So it's even worse. But we want to build relationships with the staff and students. And I communicate by email with the school principal at least every other week. And several other members in the club are communicating with other staff members. We work very hard to build rapport with them. We want to understand. There's such a history of foreigners coming into Jamaica, promising all kinds of goods they're going to provide, and then disappear. And we've worked hard to have everyone understand we're in this for the long haul. We also want to learn and understand the deaf culture in Jamaica. Someone was talking about, I think it was Ken, about learning Jamaican Sign Language. The Jamaican Association for the Deaf has an online website where you can register and learn how to speak Jamaican Sign Language. But we also want to understand the culture, which is very different from the culture in the general population. For example, I attended a webinar at Gadiet University recently, where we're talking about genetic engineering curing deafness in children. And, the general press says, oh, this is wonderful. These deaf children can now hear. But actually in the deaf community, there are lots of people who think this is an intrusion on their culture. It's spoiling their culture. And they don't want to see it happening, which is just a different perspective. I'm not saying who's right and who's wrong, but the culture is different. We also want to learn about the broader culture in Jamaica and build relationships between club members, our own club members. If you work together and play together, you become more tightly bonded. And then we also want to have fun. This is just some of the pictures, some of our team members from last February, just having fun at the end of the day. The lady holding the cell phone is the president of the Rotary Club of Kingston East and Port Royal, who is one of our partners in Jamaica, and the others are our team members wearing their Rotary t-shirts. We had generous financial support from other Rotary clubs. This year, there were 3 Rotary clubs provided support, and of course, their support got matched by district grant money. And then we had several individuals who were extremely generous in providing financial support. And we had members of the Rotary Club of South Granville County here in North Carolina went to Jamaica with us. They were interested. We always invite people to come and join, come with us. And of course, our partner in Jamaica is the Rotary Club of Kingston East and Port Royal. So the trip was designed to include a combination of hands-on service, Rotary events, and tourist and cultural activities. So we had a formal handover of the computers, which was interesting. The school, the students and staff decorated the assembly hall for the event, and it was beautiful. We painted 3 classrooms, and you'll see some pictures later. These classrooms are probably, the ceilings are probably 20 feet high. So we had a bunch of old guys on big ladders, painting high up on walls. I'll show you a picture of us sorting and storing the school's textbooks. I'll talk about that in a moment. It was interesting. We provided supplies for the school's entrepreneurship and vocational classes, and included in that were 2, I guess you'd call them industrial strength sewing machines. The part of what they do is to teach the female students how I guess how to sew, and because that can help them develop a worthwhile living when they leave school. We had a lunch for the teachers to show our appreciation for what they do, box lunches, and we had an evening reception, a cocktail reception with school staff and local Rotarians. We had group dinners for our team members, and the hotel bar or the restaurant bar was always prominent in those events. We did some cultural activities. For example, we visited the Blue Mountain Coffee Plantation. Blue Mountain Coffee is famous the world over. Last year when I was in Slovenia, we actually passed a coffee shop that had a sack of Blue Mountain coffee in the window of the store. And we visited the Bob Marley Museum. I'm not into reggae music, but in Jamaica, Bob Marley is a national hero and is very close, I think, to becoming formally designated a national hero by the Jamaican government. And then we also have these ongoing hygiene products to support health and self-esteem. And the school principal is very big on self-esteem. She's always working to build the self-esteem of the students. In Jamaica, the deaf are still a marginalized population, and the students even more so. And they have lots of psychosocial challenges. And so in addition to just straight education, the school works very heavily on the self-esteem of the students. So this was our computers arriving in Jamaica. They actually arrived ahead of us. It was an interesting challenge to figure out, first of all, how to ship computers to Jamaica, and then maybe more importantly, how to get them into Jamaica tax-free. There is a process for educational supplies that you can provide products tax-free. We worked that out with the help of some of the local Rotarians, but this is everything arriving. We provided 15 desktop computers and 7 laptops, all with modern high-speed processors. We provided 9 or 10 digital projectors and a few other ancillary support. The picture on the right is the students and staff with 2 of the new computers at one of the satellite campuses at the Maypen campus. And the pictures on the left, the student on the bottom left is signing L for love in Jamaican Sign Language. And the other 2 are basically just saying, great job. We were able to bond well with the students. I remember I was sitting in a low wall, taking a break at one point, playing on my phone or something, and I felt a tap in my shoulder, and I turned around. There was a young woman there, a young girl, I don't know, 16, 17, and I didn't know Jamaican Sign Language. She couldn't speak. She just looked at me with a big smile on her face and did. I talked about painting. You can see in the bottom there how high these ceilings were. You know, crawling on the floor under these sinks to paint walls. We painted 3 classrooms. I'm guessing they had never been painted since 1966 when the school was first opened. But so it was quite a job, but we got there. The books on the top left, I think you can see a bunch of cardboard boxes with books, textbooks, literally thrown into the boxes, totally unsorted. And we were told later that they had been there for years. So several of us in the group went through those books, those boxes, pulled out all of the books, sorted them into like subjects, all the math, all the English, like all the science, and then sorted them by title, and then put them on the shelves. Now, I kind of suspect next time we go back there, they're going to be in the cardboard boxes again, but that's okay. We felt good about what we did. We had a staff appreciation lunch. The lady on the left and right is talking with some of the other teachers. You can see her using Jamaican Sign Language. And we had a cocktail reception, and the lady standing on my right was our member number 13, and we actually inducted her into the club in Jamaica at the cocktail reception. We asked her ahead of time if she'd be okay with that, and she agreed. I said fun and relaxation. The picture on the left is a restaurant in Kingston called Jerk 22. Serves only Jamaican jerk food. We had a good time there. And then the others, I did warn you that bars played a prominent role in our entertainment and having fun. So we had 13 team members went this year. There was only 12 on this slide because number 13 was a minor. Actually, it was my granddaughter. But this is just a picture. 13, we expect this year to have close to 30 going with us. That's a guess right now, but based upon the response, we think it's going to be much bigger this year. And that's another picture of them relaxing at the end of the day at the school. So for this year, again, our projects are based on the school's priorities. So we asked the school to reprioritize the list and provide us a new list. So the number 1 priority is the renovation of a shower facility for the girls so that they can clean up after PE classes out in the Jamaican sun. They have a soccer field as part of the school campus, and that's where they do the PE classes. They have a shower facility for the boys. They had at one point a shower facility for the girls, but you can see, I think, even in these poor pictures, that it badly needs renovations, covered in mold and dirt and mildew. So we're planning to put in 2 shower stalls, 2 toilets, a vanity, mirrors, hair dryer, stuff like that, to make this a nice facility for the girls to be able to clean up. The number 2 priority, we provided them with thousands of dollars worth of new computers, and they had an air conditioner in their computer lab, but the air conditioner has gone out. It is no longer functional. So they've asked for air conditioner, and actually 2 air conditioning units for the computer labs. And if we can afford it, they would like additional AC units for other parts of the school. And the third one is there is an external stairway from the first floor up to the second floor. They have classrooms at both levels. And during the rainy season, the stairway is essentially unusable because they have torrential downpours of rain in Jamaica. And the kids get absolutely soaked trying to get from first to second floor or second to first floor. So we've agreed to build a roof over that stairway. Interestingly, we've been getting quotations from contractors in Jamaica, and we now have quotes for the top priority projects, and it's only going to require about 30% of the funds that we've raised for this trip. So we are going to take a look at the other projects that the school has in the list and basically go down the list and spend money until we run out of money this year. So they want fans for classrooms. The classrooms have got good cross flow of air. Basically one wall is open, and then the doorways and the other wall. But they would like fans to help distribute the air. So we'll take a look at that. Jamaica is undergoing a drought and extreme heat as part of global warming. The whole Caribbean is suffering from this. And so they've asked for 2 1,000-gallon water storage tanks so that if the public water supply fails, they still have a couple of thousand gallons of water they can use for the school. I mentioned extra AC units, and then they have an auditorium. The school has a dance and arts program, and they often win national prizes in dance competitions. And they would love to have a dance floor in their auditorium, a proper dance floor for the children to practice. And question for you to think about at the end: if you're deaf and you can't hear the music, how do you stay in time with the music? There is an answer. Think about it. But so they would love to have a dance stage. The room needs new floor tiles, it needs new ceiling tiles, needs new ceiling fans. It almost certainly needs to be totally rewired. And we broke those into different tasks because the total cost to renovate that room is probably in the $30,000 range. But we can do this in logical bite-sized pieces. So that's sorry. So there's a small team. 3 of us are going to Jamaica next month, just for a couple of days. And we have a member actually in Kingston, so she will join us. There'll be 4 of us. And we have a local contractor who is also a Rotarian will be joining us. And so we're going to take a look at all of those projects. We're going to try to meet with contractors. We're going to try to get pro forma quotes for equipment and tools that we might need while we're there in Jamaica, and so that we can plan for our trip in February of next year. So we invite you to join us in Jamaica in 2025. This is not a pitch for money. I'm not asking you for money. But if you would like to go to Jamaica, if you would like to experience the deaf culture in Jamaica, we invite you to come and join us. This is a mural on the wall of the school. I mentioned that deaf children and the deaf community in Jamaica is stigmatized. And this mural represents evil hands trying to overcome the children. And the sign says, take a hand, lend a hand. And this is Arnold, one of our Rotarians, putting his hand out to hold back the evil hands. That's all I got. This is our incoming vice president, Mike, with one of the KEPR, Kingston East and Port Royal Rotarians. She's actually a commander in the Jamaican Defense Force. So you salute her and call her ma'am. No, she's a lovely lady. I'll tell you an interesting story. My wife, PDG Marie, at one point in her life was in the US Army. She had the rank of captain. And so we were working at school one day, and this lady came up to me and she said, "Is your wife in the military?" And I explained that she had been in the military, and she had the rank of captain. And she said, "I knew it. She's got command presence." So I always tell people that I always say yes, ma'am, to my wife because she knows how to shoot an M16 rifle. Anyway, so that our motto is connect, travel, and serve. Connect with other Rotarians, make new business connections and personal friendships, travel to Jamaica, learn about the culture, and serve to make a difference through Rotary and experience our global impact. And that is all I have.
Wow, David, thank you. That was awesome. This is our universal clapping on Zoom.
That is, let me just say, that is also the death sign for clapping.
Yes, that's why we chose that. So yeah, so I have a couple of questions. Some are from the chat, and I think you answered some. So Rotarians from other clubs go with you. And I'm assuming non-Rotarians as well.
Yes, we have, excuse me, I dropped my microphone again. Yeah, this year, or yeah, in 2024, last February, we had another Rotary Club join us. I think we had 6 or 7, or 5 or 6, or 3 or 4. Anyway, there was a group of Rotarians from the other club came with us. I mentioned that we're going to Jamaica next month. One of the individuals going with us is a Rotarian from another Rotary Club. And he happens also in professional life to be a civil engineer. So he will be very useful, but he has heard a couple of our presentations, and he actually personally was a contributor, financial contributor to us. He wants to go to Jamaica and see for himself. We already have one member in the Rotary Club of Oxford, which is here in North Carolina, wants to come to Jamaica in February with his wife. And so, as I say, we always make the offer. If you would like to join us, we'd love to have you. And we put together a travel team so that everything is organized. You don't have to worry. All you have to do is book your own air flights and let us know what flight you're on. From there, from the airport and back to the airport, everything will be taken care of for you.
And then there was a question I think you sort of answered, but so some of your funding comes from your member donations from their dues per se. And then are you working to set up global grants or anything that shares with a Rotary Club in Jamaica, or combining district grants from local clubs?
Yeah, so right now, the money principally comes from other Rotary clubs matched by a district grant. Our district will match a club's donations up to $2,000 with a total cap of $9,500 per project. So for the project next February, we have hit that $9,500 cap. We are beginning to look at a global grant. We haven't got very far yet. As I think most people know, it's a complex process.
Yeah.
But we're considering setting up a vocational training program, which is something that the Rotary Foundation will support through a global grant. But more than the training program, we would love to be able to identify local businesses where the students could obtain apprenticeships. And so we're beginning to think about setting up this program, you know, and we'll see how it goes. Our partner in Kingston, the Rotary Club of Kingston East and Port Royal, will probably join us in that. You know, for a global grant, it's mandatory that you have a local Rotary Club on the ground, and KEPR is that club. We're also making connections to other Rotary clubs in Jamaica. We've made a connection to one of the past presidents of the Rotary Club of New Kingston. I met in the trip last February the current president of the Rotary Club of St. Andrew North, and we're inviting them to meet with us while we're in Jamaica in July and explore opportunities for ways in which we can work together.
So a couple of these other questions are more about the school and the students. Is it a residential school, or do the families live nearby? And if it's not residential, do families move to the area so that their kids can go to the school?
So at one point in history, it was residential. The school is actually run by the Jamaica Association for the Deaf. And somehow the Ministry of Education in Jamaica also has a role. I guess the Ministry of Education has an umbrella oversight of education, but the JAD actually runs the school. They have a board of directors that helps run the school. So at one point, the residential facility was taken away and used for some other purpose. It is on the school's wish list, but it's way down the priority list. The school has 3 campuses, and the reason for the 3 campuses is to try and reach deaf children in other parts of the island. So they have a campus in Port Antonio on the north coast of Jamaica, and they have a campus in Westmoreland, which is one of the parishes to the west of Kingston. The Kingston campus is the largest, but I do not believe families move so the children can attend. These families tend to be, don't have a lot of extra money, don't have any disposable income. You know, as I mentioned, they struggle to pay for the uniforms. I think every school child in Jamaica has to wear a uniform. And you may have seen some of that, the boys in their tan, you know, shirts and pants, and the girls in their turquoise dresses. So I don't think families move. So they're pulling from a relatively local area in the 3 campuses.
Okay. I think Chuck had asked, when you guys go on your trip in February, how long are you gone?
This time we were gone 5 days, and we are probably, yeah, because we had 2.5 days working at the school and 2.5 days playing tourist, learning about Jamaican culture. We haven't firmed up things for this year, but we're probably going to go for 6 or 7 days this time.
Okay. And then Ken had asked us, obviously, you know, as that you were in another E-Club and then forming this cause-based club, which is one of Rotary's newer innovative ways of engaging people. So tell us a little bit about the venture of forming a cause-based club and how you came to this particular cause with the deaf school. And there's so many needs in Jamaica, but this is one. Did someone have a personal connection for you guys to form this? So
the previous club, the 3 founders of this club we were members of another Rotary Club. That Rotary Club had a service project in Jamaica at another school, which was actually proposed and organized by my fellow founder, who was born and raised in Jamaica, but has lived in the US and around the world far longer than he lived in Jamaica. But he has local connections in Jamaica. So we went there in March of last year, and we worked at the school in St. Thomas Parish, which is the poorest parish in Jamaica. And while we were there, Peter, my colleague, my fellow Rotarian, knew about this school for the deaf and thought that it would be worth looking at it for a future project. So we made time while we were in Jamaica. We met the school principal, the vice principal, and several other staff. And we spent several hours talking about the school, general background, what their needs were. And the club we were a member of really was reluctant to support projects in Jamaica for a variety of reasons. So at that point, Peter and Marie and I decided to look at the possibility of starting our own club. To be honest with you, when I met with the folks at the Listonmere Gilby School, I fell in love with the school. We met some of the students, delightful young men and women. The teachers are extremely dedicated, as a lot of teachers are, but you know, and we decided to work on this. And actually part of the success of our club so far is that we've been able to tap into the Jamaican diaspora. I had no idea how broad the diaspora was or how well organized it is. Something like 30% of the GDP of Jamaica comes from money sent back to Jamaica by Jamaicans living abroad. And they're organized. There are several large Jamaican diasporan associations in various countries. There's a couple of them in the US. There's one in France for sure, and I'm sure that elsewhere. So all of that helped us in our efforts to become involved in Jamaica.
Any other questions? That I think I got most of the ones in the chat. Anyone else questions?
let me just throw out one last thing. You said that, you know, cause-based clubs are something that Rotary is pushing right now. But let me say, as an old guy and an old Rotarian, cause-based clubs are not new. When I joined Rotary in 1981 in a rural part of Indiana, there was a Rotary Club in the next county over, which I would have classified as a cause-based club, you know, 40 plus years ago. And I've known other cause-based clubs over the years, maybe not as clearly cause-based as we are, but definitely where the cause pulled the club members together and held them together.
That's awesome. Any other questions? I know Lance and Lene are having to shove off, so if we don't see you, it's great to see you, and safe travels with your next road stop. David, when you said that you're going to do a little short trip to look at things for the planning for February. Tell us a little bit about why you picked February. Is it more weather-based, or is it more?
I guess there's two reasons. One is it's off season, so things are a little less expensive. Jamaica can be expensive, being a tourist destination. And secondly, it is off season for hurricanes. You know, we had originally talked about going in October, November, December, but that is high season for bad weather in the Caribbean. So we moved it to February, and we'll probably keep it there for that reason.
And when people come with you on the trip, are you staying in hotels? Are you staying with Rotarians? I know now you've got a bigger group going. It's probably a little different when you're making plans for a bigger group.
Yeah, this trip we stayed in hotels, and actually we stayed in a very nice hotel. But that was the consensus of the group. They wanted to stay in a hotel. We asked, and they've already, they being the ones from this year plus the others that are planning on, already want to stay in a hotel this time too. I know that often Rotarians on service trips to other countries will stay with Rotarians in their homes, but we don't want to impose. If that offer is made, we certainly would consider it, but I don't think it's appropriate for us to go to the club and say, hey, can you put us up while we're there?
Right.
But we do try to get together with them while with the other Rotary Club. We had an evening. We just met at a local bar and spent the evening together. You know.
Yeah. Ken had another question about kind of the advantage, disadvantage of a cause-based club. I mean, obviously you're in a very focused thing on Jamaica, and being where we're at on the East Coast, it's not a far place to go. So you have a lot of people that could be something where they see a venue with that. But leaving your other club who didn't want to focus on that, can you touch a little bit on kind of narrowing your focus to just being this school for the deaf?
Do you have about an hour? No. No. You know, I mentioned, or you mentioned in my introduction, that I used to be a member of the district membership committee. And I recently asked Rotary International if they could provide me data on global Rotary membership over the last 20 years. And they did. And so in the US, we have lost 124,000 Rotary members over the last roughly 15 years. It's about 30% of the initial number. And you're seeing a similar pattern in Europe. Well, actually, Europe's not as bad. And the only region in the world that's growing is Asia. And so I've been thinking about our cause-based approach and why do people leave Rotary? There's lots of information on why people leave Rotary. But basically, they leave Rotary because for lack of engagement in the club. And I think a cause, and it doesn't have to be a big fancy cause like a high school for the deaf in Jamaica. When I was president of the Rotary Club of Oxford, we developed a program. We called it the Emergency Food Box. Basically, it was a little box with 21 meals in it, 3 meals a day for 7 days for one person for less than $5. And we literally had hundreds of members of the community would come together with us to pack these meals. And that became our cause. We expanded it to our Interact Club at a local high school. They started having independent events, and that became a focus for the club. And I think it's not so much cause as a focus. Find something that appeals to the majority of your members and that you can keep them engaged throughout the year. I mean, one of the things we do is we're continually updating club members on what's going on at the school. I mean, we're consciously trying to keep them engaged.
Right. Awesome. Well, I'm gonna attempt this screen sharing thing again with all the things in my background here. And I know that you've been with us before, so you know that we like to thank our speakers with a book. And this is one of my favorite things because I love to see the book. Whoops, go back to that. I love to see the book that Lene or Julie chooses because it always ties into the speaker. And this book is Listen, and it's how Evelyn Glennie, a deaf girl, changed percussion, which that's probably a whole topic on its own when you were talking about the deaf people and the dance when they can't hear the music. But percussion and rhythm is definitely one of those things. And so this is a great book. And David, we are thrilled to hear you tell us about the school. And this tells Evelyn's story of losing her hearing, but how she persevered as a musician. And I think your perseverance with your club and finding a next chapter, all the different chapters you've served in Rotary, truly appreciate everything you've done so far and look forward to hearing more about it in the future. So
just say, as they do at the Listomere Gilby School, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, well, now I'm going to say that I have to find my screen again because my little, I want to go to the four-way test. Did I stop sharing? Did I just stop sharing the protocol? Okay, we're going to do the four-way test, and then I have to close that to be able to see my on and off bell signal. So this learning curve this week has been like crazy. So if everyone could unmute for the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do. First.
Is it true?
Second.
Is it fair
to all concerned?
Third. Will it
build
Better
better
friendships.
And fourth. Will
Will
it
it
be
be beneficial
to all concerned?
Will it be
okay.
fun?
And will it be fun? All right. Well, thank you everyone for a wonderful day. And I'm going to ring the bell.
Thank you.
And then